Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Susan Evans, and I'm honored to welcome you to today's webinar with Rachel Lazarus and Lindsay Chura from AARP. Today, we will discuss brain health and aging, unlocking the secrets to brain health. Kensington Senior Living has 7 unique communities, 4 located in Virginia, Maryland, and New York, and 3 sister communities located in California. Kensington is truly privileged to support care partners and professionals from coast to coast. Kensington focuses on relationship-based care, care built on the foundation of our promise to love and care for your family as we do our own. That promise is what initially drew me to become a member of the Kensington family. It is programs such as the one you are attending now that are so important for those of us walking through a caregiving journey, and to hear from expert professionals on keeping us current with the latest advances in care, management, and treatment of conditions that affect seniors and their families. Thank you, Kensington, for supporting and sponsoring educational webinars. And thank you today to AARP. A copy of today's webinar will be delivered to your inbox with links to connect with these wonderful individuals and to subscribe and set up your own Stay Sharp account. Please share with friends and family. At the end of the program, we will have a conversation with questions submitted at registration and a live Q&A. Please join me in welcoming Rachel and Lindsay. I would love if you could share with our audience a little bit about yourselves.
Hi, Susan. How are you today?
How are you?
Good. Hey, Lindsay.
Hi.
So I'll go ahead first. My name is Rachel Lazarus. I'm a neuroscientist with AARP. I work on Staying Sharp, and my background is in protein biochemistry and cognitive aging.
And can you go ahead and share some information about you, Lindsay, please?
Sure. And my thanks to you, Susan, for organizing this. I know that we've been looking forward to this for quite some time. My name is Lindsay Chura, and my background is in neuroscience, like Rachel. And my degree is in psychiatry. I did a research and clinical hybrid degree. So I'll be talking to you from the perspective of a research scientist.
And I will share with the audience, it's been a long time that we've been working together, and I am so proud and thrilled that we did get something on the calendar for the audience. I think they're really in for a treat today, but I'm just so impressed with some of the resources. And my initially what drew me to want to do something and share with our audience about AARP is I'm just so impressed with your newsletter. It is so deep, it is so resourceful, and it's one of those that I always save in my inbox until I actually have time to read it. So thank you so much for your educational value to the nation. And Lindsay, I'm going to let you prepare for your presentation, and Rachel, I'm going to let you begin your presentation, and then we'll all get together at the conclusion. Thank you.
Hello, and thank you for welcoming me. I'm Rachel Lazarus, a neuroscientist for AARP's Staying Sharp. Before we begin, I just want to share a disclaimer. This session is intended to be informational and educational and does not constitute medical advice, a diagnosis, or treatment. You should always seek the advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare provider regarding your personal health before beginning or changing any treatment, activity, program, or dietary plan. AARP is not responsible for any decisions or actions taken in reliance upon or because of information provided during this event. I am not a medical expert, and I cannot provide specific advice or recommendations. The information we will cover today is intended to help people make informed decisions on how to lead a lifestyle that supports brain health. You can go to the next slide, please. Great, thank you. So today I'm going to discuss AARP's Staying Sharp, which is an award-winning digital program offering content about brain health, including meditations, recipes with healthy ingredients, fitness and health information, exercise videos, articles, and more. Staying Sharp is free to all registered users of AARP who have access to some of the content and tools. If you are an AARP member, you actually get everything that's included with Staying Sharp. Staying Sharp was created because people were asking 3 questions about brain health. First, how is my brain performing today? We normally hear this after people start to forget words or can't remember where they've put their keys, or maybe they start to see a loved one experience some cognitive decline. The second question is, what is the science behind brain health? Because it seems like there's really so much competing information out there. The third question is, what should I be doing to support my brain health? Are there simple actions that I can do that might help? So you'll see that Staying Sharp addresses all 3 of these questions, and I'm going to take you on a tour. But first, a question for you. Let's go to the next slide. So here's my question for you. Have you ever heard of the 6 pillars of brain health? Because research shows that how you spend your day can actually have a really big impact on your brain health. Let's go to the next slide. These pillars point to really simple behaviors. First, be social. For example, see your friends and see your family. Second, eat well, eat healthfully. Third, try to manage your stress. Fourth, get ongoing exercise by moving often. Fifth, get good and restorative sleep. And sixth, engage your brain by keeping learning. And I'll show you how all 6 of those pillars come to life on Staying Sharp. On the next slide, please. So the core of Staying Sharp is a cognitive assessment, and this offers a snapshot of your brain's performance in the moment. There are 5 cognitive tests within the cognitive assessment. The first test is working memory. The second test is processing speed. The third test is cognitive flexibility. The fourth test is recognition memory. And the fifth test is sustained attention. The whole cognitive assessment altogether takes about 20 minutes to complete. And after the cognitive assessment comes the lifestyle check-ins. And this is where those 6 pillars of brain health really come in. We ask you a series of questions relating to how your daily habits align with each of those 6 pillars. This section takes about 15 to 20 minutes to complete. Next slide, please. When you complete the cognitive assessment, you can see how you've performed. Your scores are compared to those of other people who have taken the tests, who share your same age, gender, and years of education. The results are expected, above expected, or below expected relative to your peers. You can take the assessment every 30 days and see how you're performing on any given day. Next slide, please. After you review your cognitive scores, you can review your answers to the questions for each lifestyle pillar to understand how well your particular lifestyle supports brain health. Next slide. In addition to your scores, we provide you with an explanation of each of the cognitive areas that you've been tested on, as well as content that you might want to explore in order to learn more. You can select any of the content here, or you can navigate through the site on your own to find the content that you are looking for. Next slide. When it comes to content, maybe you want to start with the Staying Sharp challenges. The challenges are these fun, guided learning activities that help you build healthy habits. You can choose from a menu of challenge topics, ranging from the 6 pillars to even learning about different areas of brain function. We even have challenges that focus on mental well-being. Overall, there are 14 challenges in total. Go to the next slide. Each challenge start page includes an introductory video and an overview, which explains each step in the challenge. And then each of those steps includes a lesson, which is either written or in video, followed by activities that provide ideas for how you can incorporate some of those learnings into your daily life. So here are some examples, as you can see, of the challenges available, including learning ways to build resilience through practice, learning about the roots of emotion, and learning about habits that experts believe might increase happiness. Next slide. On the Staying Sharp Best of page, you can read about the latest research with insights on healthy habits that might have an impact on brain health. The next slide, please. There are also over 750 recipes in Staying Sharp, and they all focus on healthy ingredients. Next slide, please. We also have a lot of videos, and our videos are meant to inform and inspire. We have TED Talks, meditations, and many other kinds of videos. This particular video, I Am Wisdom, is one that I've personally found very inspiring. It helps us understand how wisdom improves with age as we gain knowledge. So you see, there's great news. Getting older can be fun and filled with wisdom and a life well lived if we take care of our brain. I want to thank you for your time today. I want to thank you for inviting us today to talk with you guys. And I will now hand things back over to Susan.
Oh, don't leave yet.
Okay, I'm right here.
I am so impressed. First of all, I want to buy the first ever AARP cookbook.
Yeah, we do have some really great recipes.
I love the whole Asian thing, the Latin thing, and what a great resource to, we're always looking for something to cook, and I typically am, online looking for recipes, but what a great resource, and have it all in one place is fantastic. And I also love, Rachel, that you started with why are you developing Staying Sharp?
Mm.
And I think it's so important, so much more attention, in my opinion. It used to be a lot about cancer, and cancer was so, was on everything about different types of cancer. And then it went to heart and cardio. And now it's all about the head and understanding all the different challenges that we have growing older with different brain disease, and trying to keep, our longevity up, keeping your brain healthy. But now we know that what's good for your brain is good for your heart, and is actually good for your entire body. And I love the 6 pillars of brain health. I was interested in your cognitive assessment. It takes 20 minutes. I don't know why everybody wouldn't do that. But is that something that you could track, like if you want to take that information to your doctor and say, I've been doing this assessment, and what do you think, if you're worried about one of the assessments maybe is a little below par?
Well, I mean, one of the great things about the platform is that you can see how your individual scores change over time. So you can see yourself just at home, how your scores are changing. The neurocognitive scores are not diagnostic in nature, but you might find it helpful as a way to prompt a conversation with your physician.
Oh, I think it would be great because, the pillars of brain health, we all know that stress is not good for us and sleep is so good for us. And I was thinking about, you said you could do it every 30 days. It would be very interesting to me to see if that type of score would change if you're going through a very stressful situation in your life, or, you haven't been sleeping lately. So I just think it's a great tool for everybody to have to really manage your own health.
Well, we look forward to seeing you as a super user, Susan.
I'll be a super user. And the other comment I just had is, you went through this presentation. I'm so glad we're going to give this to our audience because I want to watch it again. But there is so much material and deep resources. I mean, that one little video that I actually wanted to watch, I'll watch it at the end, but I Am Wisdom. I mean, there's so many powerful things we can do as we age. If you're lucky enough to be a grandparent, if you're lucky enough to still be with, a significant other or a partner in life. And I just love how positive Staying Sharp is to really engage that, to engage, getting older. There's really no alternative. We all age, right? So I can't thank you enough, because you're
Thank you.
certainly not at that age yet.
Well, the hope is that we all get there healthfully, right?
Exactly. Well, thank you so much, Rachel. And then come back at the conclusion of Lindsay's
Certainly.
presentation. And Lindsay, can you join us?
Hi again.
I'm going to go ahead and let you do your presentation, then I'll join you at the conclusion. Thank you so much.
Sounds good. Hi, everyone. It's my pleasure to talk with you today about the Global Council on Brain Health. I am a neuroscientist by training, as mentioned at the beginning, and I am the Chief Scientific Officer of the Global Council on Brain Health. And that means that I oversee the scientific content that goes into all that we do. Next slide, please. So some background about the Global Council on Brain Health, and I'll refer to it going forward as the GCBH. The GCBH is an independent collaborative of scientists, health professionals, scholars, and policy experts from around the world working in areas of brain health related to human cognition. And this slide here shows some very interesting survey research that we really use as our guide. It was done quite some time ago, back when the council launched. The council launched, for greater context, back in 2015. And we're really trying to reach people who understand, as you can see here, that 98% of adults 40 and over that were surveyed believe that brain health is very important. However, only 56% of those who responded to this survey were actually doing the activities that were most important to support brain health. So we're really trying to reach those individuals who understand it's important, but aren't really acting on that in a way that maximizes what they could be doing to promote their brain health. Next slide, please. So this slide provides a really helpful overview of lifestyle factors that influence brain health. And as mentioned earlier, the Global Council on Brain Health, it's convened by AARP, and our overall mission is to offer the best possible advice about what older adults can do to maintain and improve their brain health. And that is really captured in this slide. There are just so many areas in which people can really focus their attention. So adults, we know, want to know what works and what doesn't. And here you can see there are a whole variety of topics ranging from physical activity to sleep, nutrition, vascular risk, social engagement, cognitively stimulating activities. That's a bit of a mouthful. That means what you can do to keep your mind active. Delirium, which is something that people face following surgery. And it really is not talked about nearly as much as it should be. Mental well-being, music and the arts. That's a very engaging topic that we, over the years, have found people very much enjoy hearing about. It's very fun, and we've really, as an enterprise-wide goal, tried to raise awareness about the benefits of music and the arts. Supplements, really understanding how members of the public should be spending their money and how perhaps they shouldn't. So we did a report on that. And those are just some examples. We've also come out with other reports that I'll mention later, but underlying all these different things in the background are issues related to equity, stigma, behavior change, really understanding how you can bring about these lifestyle modifications and incorporate them into your life. And of course, as we all know, in recent years, we've had to deal with COVID. We did come out with a special report on COVID back in 2020 and 2021, but really understanding how that underlies so much of what I'm discussing here. So next slide, please. So here I'm talking about lifestyle interventions across the lifespan, and just for overall background, research shows that a healthy lifestyle, even in late life, is associated with lower mortality risk and longer life expectancy. And so we know that healthy lifestyles extends the lifespan in significant ways, especially for individuals who unfortunately face higher genetic risk factors. And lifestyle modifications reduce the risk for chronic disease, including conditions that can cause dementia. Next slide, please. So something that's really important that we want to emphasize through the work of the Global Council is that cognitive decline is not inevitable. So often people think that no matter what they do, it's going to happen. And certainly in some circumstances, it will happen, but it is not inevitable. And you can certainly take steps to delay the onset. And we know from research that delaying the onset of dementia by 5 years actually can cut the incidence in half. So we're trying to really empower people to understand decisions and choices that they can make to prolong that from happening. Next slide, please. So back to talking about the Global Council on Brain Health. The Global Council on Brain Health focuses on brain health related to people's ability to think and reason as they age, including aspects of memory, perception, and judgment. And so in order to accomplish all of that, we convene experts from around the world to debate the latest advancements in brain health, and to try and reach consensus when the state of science allows, to understand what works and what doesn't. And so on this slide, you can see at a very high level that we convene experts from a whole range of institutions, world-leading institutions, and we've actually been able to gather around 200 plus brain health experts over the years. This includes the governance committee members that oversee all of our reports, plus the issue experts that we bring on board to address the different topics that I showed on the earlier slides, such as physical activity, sleep, social engagement, etc. We have what we call liaison reviewers. So we reach out to experts from the government, for example, the National Institute on Aging. We really feel that it's so important to have as many countries represented as possible to bring a diversity of backgrounds and expertise to this work. And so thus far, we have over 160 universities and organizations represented. And I will say, just tying together this line of work with Staying Sharp that Rachel just presented on, it's very much helping to inform not just the work of the council, but Staying Sharp and AARP as an entire enterprise. So we really look to this work to form a lot of the background information that we then use to develop a whole range of initiatives. Next slide, please. So I want to highlight that we have a new hearing report that was actually just released a couple of weeks ago. It's called Hearing Matters for Brain Health. And of course, hearing health is something that affects so many people. And I would even venture to say that everyone knows someone who could benefit from this information. And we know that there is a link between hearing health and brain health. And so in this slide, you can see the cover of our new report. It's a special report, and you can see where it's available on our website. And this infographic really captures the top 10 tips that we have distilled down this work to really try and emphasize these messages. And I do apologize on this slide. I see it's a little hard to read that font size, but again, it's available on the website, and I'm happy to follow up with including this as a separate resource in the follow-up email. Next slide, please. So alongside of the reports, we develop infographics, and these infographics, as well as the reports, are translated into different languages. The infographics in particular, we've been able to translate into at least 5 languages. And this is just a really visually inviting way to convey the key messages of the report. The reports are made very accessible to the general public in such a way that we hope caregivers, individuals themselves, anyone working in the field of aging could benefit. We also were mindful that policymakers will find these to be interesting resources as well. So please don't be intimidated thinking that they're perhaps too full of scientific jargon. In fact, just the opposite. We work really hard to make it as clear and accessible as possible. And that's very much reflected as well in our infographics. Next slide, please. So this slide shows the various topics that we've covered since our launch, which I mentioned earlier was back in 2015. So we've actually produced 14 reports. I'm very proud to say that each one has been scientifically vetted through a rigorous process. And in addition to the reports that you can see here, well, I actually have a few of them next to me. We have them up on our website, but also we have them as printed resources. So if anyone following this webinar would like to get in touch, I'd be very happy to mail you out paper copies. In addition to this work, we've also come up with other resource guides. For example, during the pandemic, we had a resource guide called Boosters for Joy, which really talked about virtual ways to connect. I think I'll touch on that later, but next slide, please. So this is very much underscoring the points that Rachel very clearly laid out earlier, and I think really shows everyone how closely we do work to inform the work of staying sharp, and that is the 6 pillars of brain health that we organize so much of our work around. So as a reminder, the 6 pillars include eating right, ongoing exercise, engaging your brain, being social, restorative sleep, and managing stress. Next slide, please. So just to give a glimpse as to how our reports really connect back to the pillars, I want to just break down here for you some examples. So being social, understanding how to remain socially engaged in a way that promotes your brain health. This was a report done a number of years ago. In fact, I'm working on updating some of these reports as well with some of the most recent scientific knowledge, but it's really just been underscored through the pandemic, and the US Surgeon General has spent a lot of time and energy promoting awareness around the effects of loneliness, for example. So our key messages were really just emphasizing you shouldn't let yourself get isolated if at all possible. Really understanding the intergenerational benefits as well of social engagement and keeping in friends with friends and family in your community. Next slide, please. The second pillar regarding ways to stimulate your brain really points to all the different things you can do to engage your brain. So the understanding that you use it or lose it really applies here. Exploring mental activities like crossword puzzles or mahjong, for example. Really just finding ways to challenge yourself and improve your skills. Another great example is learning a new language at any age. It's never too late to start finding new ways to engage your brain. Next slide, please. Managing stress. We came out with a report on mental well-being, and this, of course, is a very broad topic and resonates in different ways for different people. But what I'd like to emphasize here is just that activities like physical activities, social ties, really being in touch with sort of understanding your baseline stress levels and trying to keep it under control, and just exploring ways to connect with loved ones. It really ties together so many of the other pillars as well. Next slide, please. So this topic of exercise is one that comes up time and time again. For example, we did a report on cardiovascular health, and physical exercise definitely ties into that. So really understanding how exercise can actually support memory, reasoning, problem solving. It can boost your mental well-being, and doing anything that can just get your body moving, whether it just be small incremental steps at the beginning, walking down the block, for example, for those who aren't used to getting out of their homes. We really want to emphasize it's the incremental steps that can help put you on a better path. Next slide. Restorative sleep and understanding how restful sleep can actually promote your brain health. Making sleep a priority, understanding that there are ways to promote better sleep by really not introducing screen time, scrolling on your phone and while laying in bed. All those things can stimulate your sleep or lack thereof. So really understanding as well that there is a toll that happens when you don't get, for example, the recommended 7 to 8 hours of sleep per night. Next slide, please. Oh, and I should underscore as well that there are so many different sleep disorders that can impact your quality of sleep, and it's really important that you raise any concerns with your doctor that you may have regarding difficulty sleeping, insomnia, etc. And finally, the sixth pillar, eating right, understanding that eating healthy is good for your brain. I really recommend you take a close look at this report because it's been one of our most downloaded over the years, and people are just so interested to understand some practical tips that they can take to incorporate healthy eating into your daily routines. And we can sort of discuss different ways in which people can do this on a budget if you're not able to get fresh produce, for example. I know that grocery prices have really gone up, but there are simple ways that you can improve your diet even on a budget. So that concludes the 6 pillars. Next slide, please. And I just want to end by saying that AARP has developed a multi-year strategy that really ties together all these different things I've talked about, really emphasizing how to energize all of us to choose a brain healthy lifestyle. And we're looking to really transform the narrative in a society as a whole perspective. And so that is all coming into play with something we've just launched in March called Brain Health Action. So we're trying to empower people and communities to build a better brain at any age. Next slide, please. These are just some resources that I'll end with. I can send some more information as well about Brain Health Action that was on the previous slide, but I also just want to underscore we have all these resources available in our resource library on the Global Council on brainhealth.org, Staying Sharp, and also we have a brand new Brain Health Resource Center, which is a great way of really understanding how brain health can influence so many different aspects of your overall health and well-being. So I know that was a lot of information, and I'm happy to answer questions later. And please, next slide, please. Feel free to follow up here with my email if you have any specific questions or can offer feedback as to topics that you would like us to cover. Thank you, Susan.
Thank you. I just am so amazed and impressed with the wealth of information and resources available to the community. And we are getting some comments about they really want copies. And so I just want to tell the audience, you'll receive copies and links to all of this, of what we discussed today, and a copy of the presentation to share with friends and family to really get the word out with the resources that are available. But one question came in from Tiffany. And she said, does getting a new job fit into any of those 6 pillar categories, like engage your brain or social?
Certainly, getting a new job introduces so many different stimulating how shall I say, aspects to one's life. So I know that in addition to being very exciting and exploring something new, which is great because you sort of break out of a routine, it can also come with some anxiety and stress as you navigate the new challenges. So I would say that in addition to sort of thinking about the ways that it engages your brain, it's important to also think how that can also lead to other things that you can absolutely manage from the outset to manage any stress that comes along with it. But certainly it brings a new skill set, usually that you can learn, understanding that you will have new colleagues. So you have new opportunities for social engagement. I would say all that comes into play.
And then a question from Dawn about, is the USDA engaged at all? On your collaborations and everything, because you're doing so much with food and lifestyle. Do you have any relationship, or do you work with them at all?
Oh, that's a very good question. We do have liaisons across a whole range of agencies. I mentioned the National Institute on Aging, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, a whole bunch of other agencies. USDA, that's one that we haven't specifically sought out, as I can recall, but certainly, the colleagues at those other agencies work with them. So indirectly, we are benefiting very much from what they're doing there.
I know, because the better, I think the more collaboration, the better.
Absolutely.
And
That's
then
definitely the approach we take.
another follow-up question to your collaborations, like the NIH, the Alzheimer's Association, Columbia, all the universities, Pennsylvania. Are there pharma companies on that you collaborate with?
So that's an excellent question. We do not have pharma companies represented, but we certainly have colleagues who are in the pharmaceutical sector. For the work of the Global Council, we've been very careful to just bring on board liaisons that sort of minimize conflicts of interest. And I will also mention that many of the collaborators that we have benefited from working with are from international nonprofits and institutions as well. So we really benefit from taking a global perspective.
I saw that Australia. It's a great place. Love to
Yeah.
go there. Rachel, can you join us again, please?
Sure. Hi.
Hello. Thank you so much, ladies. One other question is, I saw the Alzheimer's Association and Alzheimer's this and all that stuff. Do you work with Parkinson's or Lewy body in both your roles?
So I don't personally work with any sorts of pathologies or dementias. I don't work with Parkinsonism or Lewy body or vascular dementia. Lindsay, I believe you guys have done some work with things like
Yeah, we
that.
definitely have collaborated with certainly experts that have clinical and research expertise that overlaps. And I will also say that so many different groups, whether they be representing a disease specific or otherwise, have provided overall context for who we're trying to reach, because we're mindful of the population as a whole, you know, has interest in a variety of ways and in different conditions. I'll also say that the work of the Global Council is really mostly focused on ways to promote healthy aging, but we most certainly have acknowledged in every report the specific considerations that come with individuals with, for example, Alzheimer's or dementia. And we very much value the experience, the lived experience of individuals and their families. And so we reach out to members of the community to get their input while we prepare these reports and to really understand how the concerns that individuals have can factor into our work. So really appreciate when people reach out and are willing to share from their perspective what they're dealing with.
And I'm just going to reiterate what we said at the beginning. If you will all receive an email from us. If you have any thoughts or feedback on different topics that you would like AARP to share, we will make sure that they receive all that feedback from you. And it's really appreciated, so we can tailor these educational webinars for exactly what you want. There was a question about supplements that came up, but I'm just going to reiterate what Rachel said at the beginning, that we're not going to provide any type of medical advice, and we would suggest that you probably speak with your doctor. Supplements is a tricky.
I would definitely underscore that point. It is such a hot button issue, and actually the fact that it is so high profile is why the Global Council wanted to address this topic. We want people to understand how on a limited budget you should spend your money, or you know, perhaps use it in different ways and channel it through other lifestyle modifications. But I would say that there is definitely a difference between having, for example, a nutritional deficiency versus just wanting to understand the supplements field as an industry. So there is a distinction. We always encourage everyone to seek advice from their medical providers, as Rachel pointed out in her disclaimer at the beginning. But I would very much encourage you to check out our report through the Global Council on Supplements.
It is a great report.
You have an
The
answer
report
for
that came out. Yeah, the supplement report is excellent. I don't think Lindsay knows this, but that report is the reason that I wanted to work for AARP, is because of how excellent that work was. So a big thank
Oh,
you.
I very much appreciate that. Yeah, so much thought went into that. It's a very hard topic to try and navigate, and we feel really proud of the experts that we brought on board to advise us on that.
I'll be looking at that too this afternoon. A question came in for both of you. Regarding Pillar 1, can you give some advice on how one can persuade an elderly loved one to get involved in social activities? This person is having a challenge with their elderly mother, and she just doesn't want to do anything. Do you have any advice?
So I mentioned earlier that we came out with a report called Boosters for Joy, and I'll be sure to include that in the resource follow-up email. That just provides some knowledge that we had sort of mapped out. Again, this was during COVID, of different organizations and way to engage virtually. But in-person engagement, whether it be through different perhaps like assisted living communities where they have bingo and other mahjong groups, that's an excellent way to engage around certain activities. But other things like physical activity, if you just simply walk with a buddy, which we really emphasize as a way to sort of build the synergy between the pillars, that could be another way of finding social engagement in a way that's hopefully not too intimidating.
That's great. And Rachel, how can someone join Staying Sharp?
I would be happy to send out that information so that you can provide that to everyone who is watching this video now and later. But the bottom line is that Staying Sharp is free to anyone who registers online, and I will provide all of the links and information that folks need to get online.
That's fantastic. And one last question that came in from Janie, and I was actually going to ask this question, and both of you can answer, but it was primarily on Lindsay's presentation about delirium. I'm so intrigued with that, about really giving tips to our audience and to this community about being proactive when you're going to have a surgery, when you're going to have a plan, like a surgery, or not even planned, you know, say it's an emergency surgery, but to look out for different effects from that. And her question was just, you know, is it always any type of surgery, or is it just when anesthesia is used?
Right, that's a very good question, and I'll just say that so many people over the years have talked about how they describe a brain fog to feel, and that certainly comes after a surgery. But you know, there can be other instances, for example, UTIs, where your lack of clarity as you think can sort of lead to a cascade of other things. So I think that it's particularly important that people go into any surgery aware of this and really bring on board their circle of care. So whatever caregivers are going to be involved, just to be mindful of different warning signs. And so if you check out our report, we break down different practical tips and recommendations. In fact, I should also flag that in all of our reports, we have strived to have consensus statements, practical tips and recommendations. We have some special reports where we structure it slightly different, but for the most part, we really try and have bite-sized practical tips that are very useful as you sort of think about your own health and those of your loved ones.
And I'm going to end with a couple things here from Cheryl. She said, just a note, I am a 65-year-old. I play mahjong with two 95-year-old women. So a shout out to you, Cheryl. That's fantastic. And I also just wanted to reiterate that these lifestyle modifications, even at 65 years old, can make a significant difference in your health and your longevity. And I thank Lindsay and Rachel enough, and the audience is so lucky to have met you and to get all the resources that we'll be sending out in the next couple of days. But thank you so much and have a great afternoon, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.